Young lady made here about the politics of fear. It's not just fear of terrorism. Part of what has happened in our politics over the last several years, and this administration has been an expert at it, is making you afraid of each other. So they make you afraid of people who don't look like you, or don't talk like you, or don't live in the same neighborhoods as you. They make you afraid of gay people, or they make you afraid of immigrants, or they make you afraid of blacks, and blacks are made afraid of Hispanics, and that kind of divisive politics has to come to an end. We can't solve our problem without our problem. We can't solve it with a distraction. And I'm tired of being distracted. We can't afford to be distracted. Let me close by making this point. I talk about hope a lot in my campaign. And out of necessity, because the odds of me standing here were very slim. I was born to a teenage mom. My father left when I was 2. I was raised by a single mother and my grandparents. And they didn't have money or they didn't have fame and fortune. They could give me love, an education, and hope. That's my inheritance. So I do talk about hope. I put hope on my signs. I gave a speech in Boston at the convention about hope, and I wrote a book called The Audacity of Hope. And a lot of people who've gotten involved in our campaign have described themselves as hopeful about the future. But I noticed what's been happening as this campaign has gone on. And all of you have heard this. This notion that somehow, Obama, he's just talking about hope all the time. He's so naive. He makes these pretty speeches, but he doesn't know what it takes to really change the country. And all these people who are voting for him, they're just infatuated. They're not really, they don't really know the real deal. And that's why you need somebody hard-bitten and tough. And, right? I mean, you've heard these arguments. Now, first of all, this ignores 20 years of public service. As a community organizer, as a state legislator, as a United States Senator, providing health care to people who needed it, reforming a death penalty system that was broken, dealing with nuclear proliferation, dealing with alternative energy. It ignores my record. Point number one. But more importantly, it implies that if you're hopeful, then you must somehow be ignorant of how the world really works. That you must look at the world through rose-colored glasses and think that somehow things are going to be easy. Well, you know what? My life hasn't been easy, and I'll bet there are a whole bunch of folks here whose lives haven't been easy. I've been much more blessed than a lot of people. But I know how hard it will be to provide health care to every American. If it was easy, it would have already been done. I know how hard it will be to have an energy policy that makes sense. ExxonMobil made $11 billion last quarter. So they don't want a big change in energy policy. And they will fight it tooth and nail. I know how hard it is to alleviate poverty that's built up over centuries. How difficult it is to improve our schools because it involves not just more money, but changes in attitudes. I know how easily Americans can be drawn into suspicion and fear and distracted from the real issues. I know because I fought on the streets as a community organizer with people who have been laid off of their jobs. I have fought as a civil rights attorney to provide people opportunity that have been denied. I have fought in the legislature, and I've won some fights, but I've seen some good legislation die because good intentions were not enough, because they weren't fortified with political power and political will. I know how hard change will be, but I also know this, that nothing in this country has ever happened except somebody somewhere was willing to hope, that they were willing to try to create a better world even when it looked like it couldn't be done, that we were willing to work together. That's how this country was founded. A group of patriots 13 colonies declaring independence against the mighty British Empire. Nobody gave them a chance. All those immigrants who traveled from distant shores, your forebears, they didn't know what to expect, but they had hope. Slaves, abolitionists, fighting that wicked system against all odds. And then Abraham Lincoln, a new president, charting a course to ensure this nation would not remain half slave and half free. The Greatest Generation, my grandfather fighting in Patton's Army, while my grandmother stayed home with a baby, working on a bomber assembly line, defeating fascism, lifting itself up out of a Great Depression. And think about the odds. Women winning the right to vote, workers winning the right to organize, young people in the 60s traveling south to march and sit in. And some went to jail, some got beaten, some died for freedom's cause. That's what hope is. That's what hope is. Imagining and then fighting for and struggling for what did not seem possible before. So don't let the cynics tell you, no, we can't. There's a moment in the life of every generation when that spirit, yes, we can, that spirit has to come through. When we aren't willing to settle for what the cynics tell us we have to accept. When we decide the next generation deserves the same chance as somebody gave us. When we decide we're going to keep the dream alive for those who still hunger for justice and still thirst for opportunity. When we decide to come together, and as tough as it's going to be, and we know it's going to be hard, but we decide we're going to try anyway. We are going to join together, block by block, county by county, state by state, and make this country a little bit better. And this is our time. And if you vote for it and we're going to work with it, I guarantee you we can make it.